Hey everybody, it's meteorologist Joe Martucci here at the Press of Atlantic City. It is time for another Something in the Air podcast. It is a two-time New Jersey Press Association Award winner. So thank you to everybody here throughout the state of New Jersey and beyond for listening. It is the middle of August, and I love summer, but I also have to be cognizant of the reality that fall is slowly approaching, and that means football is slowly approaching, although sometimes it feels like we're rushing through the NFL preseason and training camp just to get to that first kickoff. So for this episode of Something in the Air podcast, we are talking about staying safe in the summer heat during football season here. There are times where high school football practices have to be canceled or postponed. But as we get towards the fall, we all know we get a little more cooler weather, that football weather, and things are in full swing here across our high schools in South Jersey. And what better person to have on for this episode than the head football coach of Cedar Creek High School, James Melody here. They were the 2021 South Central Group 3 regional champions, the South Group 3 regional champion as well. They had an undefeated season last year, and it's only his third season at the helm. So he's a young guy. He's someone who actually we have a lot of connections with. We both grew up in the same town. He went to Montclair State. My dad and my sister went there. So a really good conversation. We talk about his best football weather stories. We talk about staying safe in the summer heat. We do football weather fact or fiction. And yes, we do have James's New Jersey map. So we're going to talk about all that and more in this episode of Something in the Air podcast. Listen on in. And we are here with the man himself, James Melody from Cedar Creek High School. Cedar Creek High School's football coach here, also a phys ed teacher. James, thanks for being here today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Joe.
So my first question for you is, not to put you on the spot, what is your best football weather story of all time?
There's two of them that really come into mind. My first year coaching at Montclair State University, actually, it was October of 2011.
I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
It was honestly like a pop-up snowstorm that we were not anticipating having. It was homecoming, and honestly, we probably got like 8 or 9 inches of snow, and we were playing Western Connecticut, and I think that they were in New Jersey already, so we could not cancel the game. They were already in the hotel. They weren't going to cancel the game. There was probably 10 or 12 people in the crowd for a homecoming game. That's it. And it was brutal. It was horrible. Like, we did not anticipate that happening at all. We didn't have snow plows ready to get the snow off the turf. So we were legitimately playing in 8, 9 inches of snow that we weren't anticipating. Luckily, we were playing a team I think that we were capable of handling, so it didn't really affect our game. I think we ended up winning like 30-0 or something like that. But in terms of the conditions, I think that was by far the worst that I've ever been in. And then in 2018, when I was at Union, we were playing in the state semifinal against Union City, actually. Now, brief background to Union City, they actually play their football games on the roof of their school. So it's one of the most unique football stadiums in America.
I'm going to Google map this while you're talking to me about this.
Yeah, you got to check it out. It's on the roof of the high school. And so it's elevated. And at that time in 2018, we had one of the better quarterbacks in the state. We were throwing the football. We had over 2,000 yards passing. We were rolling at that point. And Union City was more of a wing T traditional run team. And it was a torrential downpour. The wind was swirling like nothing that we've ever seen. And I remember the first pass that our quarterback threw. He was, he's a very good player. He actually starting quarterback at American International College now. The first pass he threw of the game, the ball ended up taking off on him, and it went into the first row of the stands. And that's when we kind of knew, like, we're in a little bit of trouble here today. And we ended up losing that game pretty good. And I think that whether had a huge effect on the outcome of that game because, like I said, we wanted to go in there, throw it 30, 35 times, and Union City did not. And I think, to be honest with you, we might have been the only game on that Friday night that did not cancel. And I think that they didn't cancel that for a reason. It's on the host school, and I'm pretty sure that they knew what they were doing. So that was those are the two weather stories that really pop into my mind.
Hey, those are both great. I see what you're talking about at Union City now. They have a baseball field on the roof too. That's what a use of space over there. And then the Montclair one, I actually remember that because I went to Rutgers. So I was at Rutgers and there was a Rutgers football game that day. And it was equally not 8 inches, but it was actually flipping back between rain and snow. And then it was all snow. And I've never been more uncomfortable at a football game in my life. You actually had to go to the bathroom and dry your socks out on the heater because it was just a slop fest.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, so that's definitely a day I think a lot of people who are in Jersey and were watching football will remember here. So James, are you a weather fan, or is it just something you kind of have to go around with, with your job as football coach?
It's funny you bring that up because I am.
Cool.
I actually really do enjoy following weather, and my friends know that. My girlfriend knows that I try to stay on top of the weather as much as possible. Now, I think that obviously me being a football coach probably plays a part in that because I do like to stay on top of things in terms of, practice schedules or game conditions and things like that. But if you catch me in the winter and stuff like that, I like looking at snow totals and things like that. I'm on top of the weather stuff. I am.
Okay. So what's your computer model website? Where are you checking out the models at?
Well, the app on my phone that I use that I believe is one of the better ones around is that AccuWeather app.
Okay. Gotcha. So you're using the AccuWeather app.
Yeah. That's what I check out, and then I'll check out what other people are saying. I follow you a lot, so I listen to what you're doing. So
I appreciate that. Not needed, but appreciated. I'll definitely take it. And we had quite a bit of snow in January, so I'm sure you were a happy camper this past January.
Absolutely, yeah, we did.
Yeah. So we have similar paths. We're both from Union. Not Union City, Union, which is exit 139 to 140, 138. I was a 138 guy myself, kind of cut off and zipped my way over to my house. But, I was reading an article when you first came to Cedar Creek, and you described Union as a city compared to an actual Egg Harbor city here, again, which is technically a city. So how was the transition for you, kind of coming down and being in Atlantic County? I know for me, it was kind of a culture shock, but more just like how much room there is, around.
Yeah. And that's, like you said, you're from Union, everything's kind of bunched together. Here's the deal. The biggest change is traffic. You never hit traffic down. And I'm a firm believer that Union, New Jersey is the worst traffic town that you're ever going to find. And like I said, I worked at Union High School. In reality, it should have taken me 5 minutes, 10 minutes from my parents' house every morning. It took me 25, 30 minutes to get to work, and that's not an exaggeration. So
Morris Avenue gets slow.
It's wild. But everything is a little bit slowed down down south in comparison to what goes on up north. And I think that was a good change of pace for me.
Sure.
In terms of that. But the transition's been great. And I do love it down there. I love the people that I work with. I love the kids. The kids at Cedar Creek, from Egg Harbor City, Mays Landing, Galloway, those kids are not much different than the kids from up in Union. It's honestly the same kind of demographic, same kind of kid that I came from. It's a mixed melting pot. So that was something that I was used to coming into it. But I think that the biggest difference would be that change of pace. Everything's a little bit slowed down. And it was something that I think I needed at that time in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also feels a little bit more like a community, I would say, Galloway, Harbor City, really anywhere, Atlantic, Cape May County. It's been great to me. And I know it's been great to you, regional champion, South Group 3 champion. So things are good over your way here. Football is huge in Union, I think nationally ranked in the 90s, right? At some point, And then you come here to Cedar Creek, which has had its own, I believe you were only the second head football coach in history, if I'm correct. And then you started during when COVID started here. So just real quick, like what was that like starting during this global pandemic where not only, do you have to deal with that, but you're new too, you're a fresh face.
Yeah. And that was, it was difficult. I mean, the interview process in itself, when Coach Watson stepped down, and I saw the posting. See, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have applied usually for a job 2 hours away from where I grew up. But this kind of school, this kind of community had such a really good name for itself that I wanted to at least throw my name in the hat just to see what we would get back. And, I went on 2 or 3 interviews. They were all on Zoom, never in person. So you can imagine someone from 2 hours north interviewing for a job that I do want, but I've never even seen the school. I don't even know where it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was difficult. And, before I accepted the job, I did take a drive down eventually. And once I saw what the school was all about, that's what made it easy for me to say yes. But the COVID year in general, I mean, my first 5 or 6 or 7 meetings, I mean, I got hired in March. I didn't see my kids in person until July, the end of July.
Sure.
But I mean, I had Zoom meetings and, it's not the same. It was never the same. I'm trying to install offense. I had an assistant coach, a young one, that would be with the kids sometimes and take videos and, things like that. But like, it was never the same. And I think that was the hardest thing, was trying to build relationships with these kids without really seeing them. And then, the COVID protocols on top of that. I mean, I couldn't stand within 6 feet of them. We couldn't go into a locker room. We couldn't, there was no continuity in terms of us being together. And for someone coming in new, I think that's what made it so difficult. But you fight through it, and you try to make the best of it as much as possible. But it was very difficult, and I think that the relationship standpoint was the hardest thing for me, just because I was new. Other programs that didn't have a new guy in place during that time did have that advantage, just because at least they had familiar faces around. There was no familiar faces, not just for me, but it was something different for them looking at me. So it was hard.
God. Well, more with head football coach from Cedar Creek, James Melody, in a little bit. You're listening to the Something in the Air podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Something in the Air podcast put on by the Press of Atlantic City. And we couldn't do it without our help from Stockton University, our friends over there. New episodes, the first and third Wednesdays of the month. First Wednesday of the month, we're recapping the month of July. In this case, for the month of August, or any first Wednesday of the month, we're seeing the weather from the month that was with New Jersey State climatologist Dr. Dave Robinson. Third Wednesday of the month, we bring in a special guest to talk about something weather in South Jersey. And being that we are getting into football season, we are here with James Melody, the head football coach at Cedar Creek High School, also their phys ed teacher, here to talk to us about football, the summer heat, fall football weather, the winter. But let's start off with the summer heat here for this segment. One of the things that has gained traction over the past couple of years is the Wet Blub Globe Temperature. And I won't bore everybody with how we get to those numbers, but what it is, it's a measure of heat stress in the direct sunlight. And it takes into account temperature, humidity, wind speed, the strength of the sun, and cloud cover. So, James, are you familiar with this? And how do you use it with your team throughout the season, especially during training camp where we are in, the dog days of summer?
Yeah, so we are, and we use the Wet Bulb temp, the whole setup that we have at practice. Our trainer, Miss Stephanie Marriott, is on top of that stuff every single day. She is out there. So I wanted, the specific numbers and she'll, if she watches this, she'll correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I do believe that if we go over that 90 mark, we're not practicing. She makes us cut it short. We'll go inside and we'll get working in the weight room if we have to at that point. There is a mark of 86, 87, whatever it may be. And if we hit that mark, if we're in equipment at that time, we take our equipment off and we finish our practice without pads. So there, we like I said, we do use that wet bulb.
Got it. Yeah, 87. So you said 87. That's a good that's good, because I had an example for 87 here just to give people an idea of what we're talking about. So that would be, you had a temperature 95 degrees, the dew point's a sticky 70, winds are about 5 miles an hour, and a mostly sunny sky. So it can happen. It doesn't happen that often here, but it does happen. And that is a cause for a concern here. How do the kids feel when you're in that, hey guys, Wet Blub Globe Temperature is 87?
Well, it's funny because our kids know exactly what the wet bulb is.
Oh, okay. Hey, listen, I got to come to Cedar Creek.
Listen, they just know that when Miss Steph puts that wet bulb out there, that there's a chance practice might be cut short a little bit, or practice may be less strenuous at that point. Like I said, we'll cut conditioning periods out if that number starts hitting that mark. There are things that she makes and she reminds me at that time, exactly what to do and how to get it done.
Gotcha. Okay, great. What else are you paying attention to during training camp in terms of weather? Maybe let's say summertime thunderstorms, for example.
Yeah, I mean that's something that we try to track every day that we're out there. Luckily, honestly, we've been pretty lucky. We work out in the morning, Monday through Thursday. I think honestly, maybe one rain day this year. Okay. In terms of we can't do it. I think last week we had a little bit of a drizzle, but we were outside. There was no thunder, no lightning. But if we get that lightning, if we get a thunder or a lightning, it's 30 minutes off the field until the next one. So it's that'll take some time if that does come in. And luckily we have good indoor facilities that we can use. But we stay on top of that stuff.
Got it. And then as we get into September, October, November, what are you looking at weather wise, and not just for training camp, but during the games too?
Yeah, well, it's a loaded question for me at Cedar Creek, especially, and I'm going to tell you why. We don't have turf. We have practice fields that sometimes don't take rain quite as well as maybe some other fields. So sometimes when we get a rain day on a Monday, we might have trouble practice on that field on a Tuesday, just based on, I don't want kids slipping and falling around and twisting an ankle on a bad practice, not a bad practice field, but bad practice conditions, is what I would say. But in terms of weather, based on what, we like to do offensively a little bit, at least, bad conditions aren't always great for us. I like to throw the football. And that's something that's been in my DNA as a coach, for a long time. I'm not saying we can't run the ball. Last year we had a 1,600-yard running back, so I'm not going to sit here and say that we can't run the football. But that it's definitely something that I always keep my eye on. And I can remember times and times past that if we do have rain in the forecast, we'll use wet balls in practice. I'll bring a Gatorade jug out and we'll dip balls into a Gatorade jug and try to get the quarterbacks and the running and the people handling the football acclimated to a wet football, because you do have to battle the elements. And like I said before in previous, you battle elements in football. It's very rare that they're going to say, okay, this isn't great conditions to play, you're not going to play. Sometimes teams want you to play in bad conditions. Like I said before, like last year's team, we were an extremely fast team. I'm sure teams wanted us to play on wet fields and things like that. So it's definitely something that I constantly keep an eye on in what we're doing.
Gotcha. Especially as we get towards, November and the later part of the season, sometimes cold is an issue too. Is that something you guys need to work around? Is it like, have you had conditions where it might be too cold, similar to a wet bulb globe temperature situation, or are you guys doing whatever you need to do to get out there and practice? Do you have any connection with Miss Stephanie for that point as we get into the colder part of the season?
we'll talk, but we're gonna practice in the cold.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right, that's fine. Football
that's the
weather.
reality of it. We were blessed last year. We played till December 5th, December 6th, and we really didn't have that many bad cold days.
Yeah.
I mean, here and there, the wind, sometimes when the wind kicks up, that'll be kind of fierce and that'll be tough to battle. But, if unless we're under, 20 or 15 degrees, which we're not going to really get to, I don't think that, I mean, knock on wood.
I doubt it. I agree with you.
Then it's not going to come up. You know what I mean? The wind, like I said, the wind can be a killer sometimes, but
Sure.
that kind of weather now.
Right. How about, let me ask you this, and I'm going to preface by saying I'm not a high school football guru, so if I'm asking the wrong question, I apologize. But do you guys play at Ocean City?
We do this year. We play at the Battle of the Beach.
Oh, you're playing at the Battle Beach. That's the weekend before Labor Day, maybe?
Yes, August 28th.
August 28th. So get on down there if you're going to be around. That's right on the beach. You literally, the boardwalk's across the street. Any special preparations for the wind when you're going into Ocean City?
No, it's unfortunately last year we were in the Battle of the Beach, and that was when that massive flood hit Ocean City.
Oh, okay.
They moved our game to Camden Catholic. So we didn't end up playing at Ocean City a year ago, but that is something that definitely, and we're playing at night. We're playing a Sunday night. So I'm curious. I've honestly, I've never really been there in terms of the wind stuff and what's going to be coming off the water. So that is something that definitely is in the back of my head. Luckily, I have coaches on my staff that have been there and have experience of playing there, so they'll probably keep me at ease. But it's definitely something that is, in my head right now.
Okay, gotcha. I think Atlantic City too. I mean, it's not on the beach, but it's right there, surrounded by the bay. So I know that can get a little windy as well here. All right, so I want to do a little bit of football weather fact or fiction for you if you're game.
I'm good. I'm good to
go.
All
right, cool. All right, so first question I have for you too, and this is from your coaching philosophy here. First question, fact or fiction? You're passing the ball less when it's windy out.
Fact.
Okay. You're passing the ball less when it's snowing out.
Fact.
Okay. All right, it's fine. I don't want to give away too many secrets from you. The hotter, the better for passing attacks. I've read yesterday that actually it is better for passing attacks when it's hotter out.
Yeah, better weather. Fact, definitely.
Okay, so there's no limit. It can be 97 degrees.
Still throwing
it. Gotcha. Okay. Does it ever get too cold for football weather?
No.
Okay. All right. And then the weather at Cedar Creek is better than the weather in Union.
You get more of a breeze at Cedar Creek. You get a little bit of that. So I would say better at Cedar Creek.
Okay. All right. Better at Cedar Creek. Gotcha. What are you looking forward to team-wise this season as you're defending your title and your undefeated season as well?
Well, we graduated 22 kids from last year's team. I think 18 of them were starters. So it's an experienced group, but it's a very talented group. So I'm excited for them just in general, for them to get their feet wet and play at the varsity football level now. Like I said, though, very talented. They've worked very hard through the off season. We pushed them through a lot, not just in the summer, but from the month starting in December up until this past week when we finished our conditioning and lifting program. So they've been through a lot. They've pushed through it, and I'm excited to see them go out and show it. And like I said, like you said, we have a target on our back now. So we got our hands full, and our schedule is tough, and we play some of the best programs in South Jersey, but we're excited for it and we're up for the challenge.
Gotcha. What game do you have circled on the calendar for this season? Which one's the big one for you?
I mean, it's so hard just because our conference is so loaded right now. And, I try not to look ahead and I try to keep my kids grounded in saying that. And I try to live by that. So honestly, I'm going to answer the question in saying that I'm excited most for our first game against Edison, and we'll move forward from after that.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, listen, man, I'm a big fan of everything that you do, and I think we can all down here in South Jersey appreciate the fact that you put in the time to get us prepared for any of weather situations, and I'm going to continue to follow you, and hopefully we can keep this relationship going. You can help me out with sometimes the game conditions.
Hey, listen, you got my number if you need me. And if anybody else, you're interested, I'll be around to a couple of football fields this fall. We do our annual high school football forecast with Mike McGarry, somebody that our very own. We will start it up. We might go to Ocean City High School for the Battle by the Beach as we get into late August. And then we circle around the South Jersey as we get into the fall. So I'm sure Cedar Creek will be a stop there. Yeah. Mike makes those decisions. I don't, but I'll put it to work for Cedar Creek this year. Before we wrap up, we got to do our New Jersey map. And James, we are both from Union. And my question to you was last night when we texted was Union in North or Central Jersey? And you had the right answer, Central Jersey, which I agree. And not only that, you said it was the furthest north town in Central Jersey, which is 100% correct. So I love it. We have the map showing up right now here. Fairly similar with that north central, kind of like that I-78 corridor is what it looks like you were thinking. Cuts through Union. So you go a town further north. You get into Essex County, definitely North Jersey. Here's my question for you on the central north thing. What's Elizabeth? Is that central or north in your mind?
I think that Elizabeth is part of the Central Jersey.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's fine. I go with north, but I can, I'm okay with central there. And then with that central south, you want to tell us about where you have that central south in your mind here?
I think it's the Toms River line. But here's the deal. If you asked me this 2 years ago, it probably would have been a little like it's crazy how quickly my life has changed in terms of that. You know what I mean? Because like I said, 2 or 3 years ago, when you talk about South Jersey, you're talking about the Jersey Shore. Now, like the Jersey Shore is more in that central range for me now. So I think Toms River is that line right underneath Toms River and down. I think that's South Jersey. Now, if you ask my friends at Cedar Creek, they tell you that Toms River is North Jersey, not even Central Jersey. They say it's North Jersey. Yeah. So, it's crazy how it changes for some people.
Yeah, I definitely have lowered my central south line since coming here. I actually go down to LBI. I think LBI could even be central because when you get down to Galloway, Egg Harbor City, once you get to LBI, it's kind of like a little more like that's a little more north. Let me ask you too: have you ever seen or heard about that sign along the Cape May Canal that says North and South Jersey?
I have not.
Check it out later. Someone put up a sign that says, once you get north of the Cape May Canal, you're in North Jersey, and south's only south of there. So, I don't know who put that sign up or what mindset they were in at the time, but there is a sign that does exist. James, well, hey, this was great. I hope everybody who was listening was able to get a lot about what goes into his mind and minds of many high school football coaches as we get into football season and dealing with the heat here. Best of luck to you this season, and I'll see you around this fall.
Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate everything you guys do.
Great. Thanks, James. This is the Something in the Air podcast brought to you by the Press of Atlantic City. We'll be back with you the first Wednesday of September. We're going to recap the month of August with New Jersey State climatologist Dr. Dave Robinson from Rutgers University. Hope everyone's enjoying the last couple of weeks of summer here. We do have our local summer in September, of course, but Labor Day is coming soon. Football weather is coming soon as well. So good luck to all the high school players and coaches out there. We will talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.